Talkin Racing. An action-packed half-hour look at local race highlights, cars, and drivers in your area. Buckle your seatbelt, rev your engine, and be there.
Talkin Racing is brought to you in part by Day by Day Production, Tom and Jerry Video Production, the Perlmutter of VFW, RJ's DJ Service, Speedway Specialties, and Specialties by Jan.
Hello and welcome to Talkin Racing. I'm Tom Edmonds.
And I'm Craig Wilson. And boy, Tom, we've got a great show planned for tonight. We've got Amy Catalano, late model NASCAR driver from down at the Spencer Speedway. So what a great interview. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. We've also got the speed news coming up. We'll give all the information from around the tracks. And you might as well stay tuned. It's the hottest half hour on television right here on Talkin Racing.
We've had a great opportunity over the past few weeks to take a look at some of the fine racing equipment at some of the area race car shows. Well, the Irondequoit Mall had a show as well for the cars that will be competing at Williamson International Speedway in 1996. Here you see Todd Stanton's beautiful number 3 Monte Carlo. Well represented on Todd's car, Talkin Racing Productions. We got to see street stocks, microds, cars that will be competing in the NHRA sanctioned drag racing on Saturday nights at Williamson International Speedway. Here you see a beautiful Camaro Thunder Rolls. There was even a Dirt Sportsman Modified on hand. Bob Richmond will be campaigning this car at Genesee Fair Speedway on a regular basis in '96. Darrell Lewis was on hand, along with his beautiful number 10 Troyer Modified that will be competing on a regular basis at Tioga Speedway on Saturday nights, along with the New York State Modified Championship. Danny Wilmus was also on hand. Right now, let's take a look at some of the fine cars and equipment on hand at the Irondequoit Mall Race Car Show.
Racing for decades has kind of been a sport intended for men. It's kind of dirty, greasy, noisy, and kind of a mechanical type thing. But just recently, women have evolved from the background. Years ago, you could say a woman as a race car driver, everybody would think you was crazy. But today, things have changed. And tonight, I have the pleasure to introduce and chat with one of the young ladies who has changed this thing of motorsports to co-ed racing. Tonight we have Amy Catalano. Amy, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Nice to have you here this evening. Amy, didn't anybody ever tell you that women are not supposed to drive race cars?
They sure do. They tell me all the time.
They do?
But I think it takes a woman to get the job done right.
Is that right? Well, I can see that we may be at different ends of the fence here tonight, so this is going to be a lot of fun.
I think I'm at different ends with a lot of people.
Oh, yeah? You're not, obviously, not intimidated by any of those guys out there in the racetrack at all, are you?
I'd say not now, I'm not. I'd say the first practice day I was extremely intimidated.
Well, I've had the pleasure of interviewing you after a feature win. Let's see, it'll be the season before last in '94 you picked up 1 win, and last season we had 2 wins. One was kind of questionable, but we still think you had to win. So you had 2 feature wins last year in the Super Stock division. You guys had to be thrilled about that.
Absolutely. That was a wonderful season for us. Couldn't ask for anything better. Well, could ask for a championship, but it's still early, and that's only my 2nd year racing.
Well,
so
3rd in points, that's nothing to sneeze at, is it?
No.
Especially for a woman driver, right?
Now, come on. I don't know about that.
You know, talking about the competition, in a super stock division, you guys probably had some of the toughest competition that there is out there. You got Hebing out there, and you also got Hollywood Ellenwood, and also Roger Sturry's.
Yep.
These guys, I don't think they ever cut you an ounce of slack, do they?
No, but I wouldn't say that I cut them either any.
You know, and that's true. And I've seen you go on the track, and I've seen you be able to take that race car of yours, move to the outside of the track, get side by side with them, and race them for position and beat them, and not tear up equipment. I don't see the fenders. I don't see paint all over their cars. Why can you do that, and maybe a few others can't?
I think it comes from an aggression standpoint. Pretty competitive, pretty aggressive. Being the only female, I got a lot of heat on me. I definitely don't want to come in and be in the back of the pack.
Don't want to be in the back of the pack,
No.
not at all. When you picked up the very first wins out there, I know that at times there was people that saw, you know, this cute little blonde going out there and competing against the guys in that super stock division, and at times you guys would have 24 cars in a feature, tougher than tough can be. It had to be really exciting for you to pick up that win.
It was really exciting. It's kind of one of those things you can't even express how you felt. Just emotions get going, and can't believe it happened. Actually, I radioed into the crew and was like, I won, I did it. I can't believe I did it. And they're like, yeah, you did. I'm like, are you sure? They're like, yeah, you did.
Well, I know I couldn't wait to get down to interview you that night, and the crew was very happy, and everybody, Mom and Dad, they were just elated. And of course, Dad was working on the track crew at the time, and he was right over there. You know, you come from a racing family. Now, your brother won the track championship this year in the street stock division.
He did. It was great, wonderful. Great success he's had.
He did really good with the street stock division. And yourself, you were only third. You were third in points, only
Right.
just a couple clicks out of that #1 position.
Yep.
And that was an excellent season. And like you said, it's only your 2nd season.
That's right.
Now, what do you owe, let's say, your success so far in your 2nd year? 3rd in points, 2 feature wins in your 2nd year, feature win in your 1st year in your rookie season. What do you feel that you owe your success to?
Well, I started racing very young. I raced microds, started when I was 7. I raced until I was 15, so I guess that comes back to family. My father definitely put the competitive edge in me and got me good equipment and got me some experience on how you pass, how you race, the gas, the brake. You got to use them both. Learned to drive with 2 feet. That's a big thing. And then I got to say that my husband did a great job setting the car up. I show up every week and it's ready. It's within just a couple little turns and it's right on the money.
Now, we're talking about Dave Catalano.
That's
Dave
right.
is quite an accomplished driver himself, so you've got some of the best working for you right there.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Dave and how you two work together. I mean, you're husband and wife off of the racing circuit, but
Right.
when you get to the racetrack, you're the driver and he's the crew chief.
It's pretty much business. We definitely butt heads sometimes at the racetrack. We don't argue, but we butt heads as to who thinks what, and I usually want to come in and tell him the car's okay, and that doesn't fly. The car is either perfect or it's not, and you better make a decision. So, and sometimes he's a driver himself, so he'll stand in there and tell me, car looked loose. No, wasn't loose, and we butt up to who's right. And obviously it comes down to the driver's right. I got to drive.
You got to drive. Well, it has nothing to do with who's cooking dinner. I'm not going to say that.
No.
Okay, I want to ask you about the car now. The last 2 seasons you've been driving the super stock division, and that's a tough division, very tough division. This year you guys are making a major step. This is NASCAR late model racing you're stepping up into. Tell us a little bit about your program for '96.
Well, for '96, we're actually going, my husband and I, David, are going to own our own car. The previous 2 years I've had a car owner, Gordon Walker, brought me great success, can't thank him enough. He's decided that he's going to sponsor our car and doesn't want to own, which is fine. So we're going to move up to the late model division. We've picked up new sponsors. We picked up Griffith Oil this year.
Oh, good.
And we picked up Whitney East Construction. They build homes, Homerama and all that. So all the people want the house built. and a Bush Beer this year.
Good, good.
Yep.
Some excellent sponsors. Of course, you need the sponsorship program
right.
to go along with the crew. Like, you know, Dave is your crew chief,
Yep.
and of course you behind the wheel. These things together is a great combination towards possibly a victory their first year out, or
That'd be
possibly
great.
A great finish. I mean,
Yep.
well, let's talk about what are the goals for Amy Catalano in '96 as a NASCAR late model driver?
Well, we'd like to pick up a feature win, but I mean, that's tough to come by, and it's a goal that you set out there. I'm pushing to be in the top 10 in points. I always hope for the top 5, but we set top 10. We also want to be ranked, hopefully, in the Northeast region, so we want to get enough shows in to be ranked there. Top 20 is what we're shooting for.
So there's a possibility we might do some traveling now.
We're going to travel a little
Your
bit on a
plans-
limited basis.
Okay. So there may be a possibility to do some traveling so
Right.
that you could qualify for that top 10 in that Northeast regional points. And we did have a couple of drivers last year at Apple Valley Speedway that did quite well
Right.
with that. So that is an excellent goal.
Yep.
So tell us about the late model now. Tell us about the race car that you got.
Well, we just purchased a late model. It only raced 3 races last year, so it's a fairly new car. And we put a new Ford Thunderbird body on it.
Ford?
Ford Thunderbird body on it.
Ford, not a Chevrolet.
It's got a Chevy motor, but we interchangled the
okay.
body. Body fit better on the car, so.
Okay. So Ford Thunderbird body.
Yep. It's
What-
going to go with the same number, 44, and the white
44,
car.
White
Yep.
car. Now, you mentioned Gordon Walker, and Gordon for the first 2 seasons was a tremendous help to you, and we can't let it go by an opportunity to mention Gordon because he was
That's
a
right.
very strong supporter to your racing organization.
Still very strong supporter. Still wants to make sure I succeed, calls, checks up on things, make sure I'm definitely going to be racing and heading in the right direction.
What about the support from the family now? Mom and Dad, Dad's at the track and he watches. Of course, he had you and your brother there last
Yep.
year. Now, so what's going to be like this year? Because I understand your brother may take a season off.
Oh, no.
No, he's back?
He's getting the car ready, and he's definitely going to race again. My dad's a great supporter. He definitely pushes to do good, succeed, and lets us know what we do wrong. And that's important. I mean,
Right.
for someone to tell you that, listen, I don't think you fit there, but he's always positive and definitely keeps us going.
Why don't you tell us what it's like to crawl into that race car on Friday night, know that you're going to go out there and you're going to compete against 23 other, we'll call them guys, 23 other guys on the track, and you're the only female. Tell us what that feels like when you get
The
in the
first thing I got to do is go to the bathroom. The little nerves run. I buckle in, and usually the most important thing for me is not to watch my brother race. I can't do that. It makes me very nervous. I don't like to watch people I know race. Don't make me nervous at all. To buckle in myself. I'm a little bit nervous. As soon as I get in and actually put my belts on, I'm not nervous at all. I'm calm. I joke around, back out, go over and get in line. Could fall asleep sitting there, just as calm. It's like there's no other world.
So you're strapped in the office and ready to go to work.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. The nerves and you mentioned a little bit of
Yep.
nervousness, and that's understandable. There's an old cliche out there that says that, when the green flag drops, the BS stops. And
It's actually the truest thing you ever heard. You're totally not concentrating. You're out in La La Land riding around like a Sunday drive. You see the white flag for me. That's the white flag, and it's all over. Drop
white
the
flag.
visor, and we're ready to be serious.
Now, people like Howie Ellenwood, very aggressive driver.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Hebing, another aggressive driver. And there's several others out there. To get side by side or glance up in your mirror and possibly see one of those guys right on the tail end, what kind of effect does that have on you? Knowing that, these guys have been track champions, they have feature wins, they have strong cars, and are a very aggressive driver. Now, did it take time so that you could settle down and relax with him there?
Well, I'd say I look up in the mirror, and everybody's pretty much the same. Doesn't matter who's coming at you. If they're coming up strong, you know they're going to be fast. And you pretty much look in your mirror and decide that you need to either, if you're not on throttle and pushing for all you can give it, you need to start, or you need to change your pattern and make sure you're protecting the bottom. Everybody's a competitor out there. It doesn't really matter whether they're top runner every week or they happen to be this week. They're competition.
It's got to be frustrating for you drivers. A question came to mind as you were talking about looking in the rearview mirror, and you say you have the pedal to the metal and you're going all out the best you can go. It's got to be frustrating for you sometimes to have that pedal all the way down and have these guys inching by you and just knowing you're that much short for the night. That's got to be frustrating.
That's not nearly as frustrating as having the pedal to the metal and having somebody just blow the doors right off the car. And you're thinking, wow, that guy's got a lot more power than I ever thought of having.
Let's talk about a couple of changes to Spencer Speedway for '96. Now, the Spencers are taking the track back. They're going to operate the Speedway. And one of the things that they've done is they've combined two classes together, the Super Stock Division and the Late Model Division. How do you drivers feel about this?
I don't know about everybody else, but I think it's one of the best decisions for me personally. This is my first year moving up into the late model division. I watch the super stocks, or where I've been in the super stocks, and it's almost a full field. You know, you got almost 20 cars, side-by-side racing all night. You don't know who's going to win. There's just so many cars out there that are competitive and fast. I watch the late models. You got 12 cars, you got 3 really strong cars, and the rest are kind of strung out, and no one's getting to race. So for me, I mean, I'd like to run with those 3 front cars, but this is my first year, and we'll take what we can get. They put the super stock cars in there, and I'm going to have side-by-side racing every night, competition, and get a lot of experience and learn a lot in the late models, and have somebody to race with all the time.
Does that make it more fun for you?
Absolutely.
When you're side-by-side?
That's right. If you're strung out and you're just, you know, a car length from that guy and a car length from the guy behind you,
yeah,
it's kind of boring. I mean, you can drive down the expressway and do the same thing. So,
well, some of us do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I think it's a great decision, and it's going to give us a full field of cars.
Great.
That's just for my own personal.
Well, listen, Amy, thanks for being on the show with us, and we all want to wish you the best of luck.
Thanks.
You know, everything, you know, we've joked around a lot here
Yeah.
about, you know, you ladies driving and stuff like that, but I've always admired you behind the wheel. You do a wonderful job, and we'll look forward to hearing all about you in '96. Good luck with the late model.
Thanks.
Well, ladies out there, I want you to pay attention in 1996 and watch for the new generation driver, Amy Montgomery Catalano. I almost didn't get it right, but it's Amy Montgomery Catalano.
And now, we bring you Speed News. All of the latest news and information you'll need to prepare yourselves for the 1996 race season.
Are you ready for racing? Vic Coffey with that look of determination going for the rookie title at Cayuga County Fair Speedway in the Big Block Dirt Modified. They'll also be running a 358 Modified this season. Down at Cayuga County, you had the rookies. You had the veterans like Barefoot Bob McCready and his Syracuse frame, Kinney Drugstore, Troyer Chassis number 9. You also had the Doctor, Danny Johnson, driving the Freightliner Trucks of Newburgh, number 6 Troyer Chassis. Carl Comfort came down to compete in the Sportsman Division. There would be a great field of cars here this afternoon. You have folks that haven't raced here at Cayuga County Fair Speedway before. Lorraine Vargo, who was a normal runner at Genesee County Fair Speedway, will be following the circuit down here at Cayuga County Fair Speedway and at Canandaigua Speedway, along with her husband, Rich. Some of these guys have been around many years and know the way around Cayuga County Fair Speedway. Jumping Jack Johnson, Charlie Donk out of Macedon. Charlie out there with his Mike Maston-powered Troyer Chassis number 99 hopes to be a force to be reckoned with at Cayuga County Fair Speedway this season. The excitement was in the air, and you saw some new faces down here as well that aren't normally down here. Dale Plank, the Mid-American NASCAR champion. And of course, you've got Dirt's all-time feature winner, AJ Slideway's Alan Johnson, with his new Bicknell chassis. And let's not forget, defending track champion at Cayuga County Fair Speedway in the Big Block Modified Division, Canada Joe Plazek, and the Canadian number 1. The Hurricane, Steve Payne, driving his 358 Modified that he'll be campaigning on a regular basis at Brockville Speedway. The Hurricane is also the defending 358 Modified champion at Cayuga County Fair Speedway. Who would be the force at Cayuga County Fair Speedway this afternoon? Let's go right to one of the heat races as we see sophomore driver Billy Abald take a tumble on turn 1. You could tell the track was in rough shape. Being an early spring day, you're going to have those problems. Billy was okay, and he walked away. Sportsman feature. 20 laps for the Dirt Sportsman Modifieds. Jason Barney and Jeff Hoff led the field of Sportsman Modifieds down to the first turn. Jeff Hoff would grab the early advantage, and we'll see how these guys get around this track on this cold, crisp Sunday afternoon. Timmy Burnett, modified driver the past few seasons, has made the move back to the Sportsman division. You see he's on his way up through the pack. Jim Gabriel Jr., the 1J, the Rookie of the Year in the Mr. Dirt Sportsman Championship Trail. He makes a little contact with the outside wall, but he's okay, and he keeps flying up through the pack. On a restart, Jeff Hoff and Carl Comfort come together. Carl's going to go towards the infield, then come back into Jason Barney. Carl would continue the event, and he would have a respectable finish here today at Cayuga County Fair Speedway. By this time, Timmy Burnett had moved his way up to the second position, and as they come in to turn 1 and 2, you see Gary Farnsworth loop it around in turn 1, and the other Hoff brother, Billy Hoff, drives over his front end. On the restart, after this action, Tim Burnett on the high side of Jeff Hoff. The two of them will make contact going into turn 1. Jeff almost goes over, but he saves the car. The guys behind them try to scramble around, not to make contact, but a few of them do get involved here. All the guys were okay. We'll give you a different action here, different view of the action, as you see Jeff and Tim there down on the low side of turn 1 and 2. You also see Pat Galley up there on the high side. Back to the racing action. This would lead Jason Barney with the lead, followed closely by Mike Button. These guys weren't going to be able to get this event going this time, though. You see a couple of them come together, coming off of 4 for the restart. Jim Gabriel Jr., as we said, last year he drove the 5J. This year he changed his number, and it also changed his luck. He would grab the win after Jason Barney, who had led a good portion of this event, shredded a tire after he hit the outside wall down the backstretch. A little frustration on Jason's part as you see him come down the backstretch and loops the car. Unfortunate circumstances. Jason, a regular runner down at Fulton Speedway, is trying his luck at Cayuga County Fair Speedway, and he looked great this afternoon. Results: Jim Gabriel Jr. with the win. Mike Button runs in second. Steve Hall rounds out third. Greg Doust in fourth. And Pat Galley out of Waterloo, New York, finishes in the 5th position. Great way to start the season for Jim Gabriel Jr. down at Cayuga County Fair Speedway. Big block dirt modifieds. 50 laps for these guys. You see him come down to take the green flag. Ronnie Smoker, who was a regular runner up at Ransomville Speedway, would start on the inside pole. But before one lap can even be completed, Billy Decker and Mike Colston come together up between 1 and 2. They would continue on. After all of this is sorted out, Canada Joe Plaza, defending track champion at Cayuga County Fair Speedway, would grab the lead. But right behind him, a battle for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th position between Ron Smoker, the Hurricane Steve Payne, and the Doctor Danny Johnson. They were trying to chase down Canada Joe Plaza and Charlie Donk out of Macedon, New York, who was running in the 2nd position. These men would put on one heck of a battle out there. As you see, the Doctor, Danny Johnson, driving to the high side, and Steve Payne down to the low side. Ronnie Smoker, having a very, very strong run this afternoon at Cayuga County Fair Speedway, would be up there to challenge for that lead position a little later on in the event. But meanwhile, he drives underneath Charlie Donk for that 2nd position, and he starts to close in. But disaster strikes for the Doctor, Danny Johnson, as he gets high and his suspension breaks. He'll go pit side, but he will be back to finish up the event. Once racing action resumes, Charlie Donk, the Hurricane Steve Payne, and AJ Slideways, Alan Johnson, would be battling for position 3, 4, and 5. The Hurricane would grab that position. The defending 358 modified champion at Cayuga County Fair Speedway was well on his way to the front. Charlie will get loose here. Barefoot Bob McCready will sneak underneath, with AJ Slideways also up there in front of him. Barefoot Bob would have his problems all this afternoon as he has a tire rubbing on the right rear. He would continue, and it would not hurt his speed at all, as he would still climb up through the pack. Meanwhile, Ron Smoker in the number 95 would close in very quickly on Canada Joe Plazic and look to go to the high side to try to pick up the feature win. But as they come off turn 4 for the checkered flag, Canada Joe holds on, and Ron Smoker with a strong run will finish second. Way to start the season for the defending track champion Joe Plazic as he picks up the win over Ron Smoker. Barefoot Bob McCready, the Hurricane Steve Payne, and Jumpin' Jack Johnson, who rounds out the top 5.
Well, unfortunately, we're all out of time. But, Tom, I understand there's some changes in the future.
Yes, there is, Craig. As a matter of fact, next week we're going to go to Wednesday nights, and we're going to return to our basic format of having highlights from all the races around the area.
Oh, sounds great. We also want to mention about the radio show that'll be coming up, too.
That's right. Be sure to join us every Thursday night, Jim Freeman and myself, for the radio version of Talkin Racing. It's at 7 o'clock on 99.3 WSFW.
So until next Wednesday.
We'll see you at the races.
Bye.